Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, we are in Leviticus, and I couldn't find a brush today, so it's what it is. I'm sure there's one somewhere in the house. Don't know where they are, though. Anyway, Leviticus chapter 7. Now, this is the law of the restitution offering. It is especially holy. The restitution offering must be slaughtered at the place where the burnt offerings is slaughtered, and the priest is to sprinkle its blood on all sides of the altar. The offerer must present all the fat from it, the fat tail, the fat surrounding the entrails, and the 2 kidneys with the fat on them at the loins. He will also remove the fatty lobe of the liver with the kidneys. The priest will burn them on the altar as an offering, fire offering of the Lord. It is a restitution offering. Any male among the priests may eat it. It is to be eaten in a holy place. It is especially holy. The restitution offering is like a sin offering. The law is the same for both. It belongs to the priest who makes atonement with it. As for the priest who presents someone's burnt offering, the hide and the burnt offering he has presented belongs to him. It is the priest's. Any grain offering that is baked in an oven or prepared in a pan or on a griddle belongs to the priest who presents it. It is his. But any grain offerings, whether dry or mixed with oil, belongs equally to all of Aaron's sons. Now this is the law of the fellowship sacrifice, that someone may present it to the Lord. If he presents it for thanksgiving, in addition to the thanksgiving sacrifice, he is to present unleavened cakes mixed with olive oil, unleavened wafers coated with oil, and well-kneaded cakes of fine flour mixed with oil. He is presented as an offering cakes of leavened bread with his thanksgiving sacrifice of fellowship. From the cakes he must present 1 portion of each offering as a contribution to the Lord. It will belong to the priest who sprinkles the blood of the fellowship offering. It is his. The meat of his thanksgiving sacrifice of fellowship must be eaten on the day he offers it. He may not leave any of it until morning. If the sacrifice he offers is a vow or a freewill offering, it is to be eaten on the day he presents the sacrifice, and what is left may be eaten on the next day. But what remains of the sacrificial meat by the 3rd day must be burned up. If any of the meat of his fellowship sacrifice is eaten on the 3rd day, it will not be accepted. It will not be credited to the one who presented it. It is repulsive. The person who eats any of it will be responsible for his sin. Meat that touches anything unclean must be eaten. It is to be burned up. Everyone who is clean may eat any other meat, but the one who eats meat from the Lord's fellowship sacrifice while he is unclean, that person must be cut off from his people. If someone touches anything unclean, whether human uncleanness, unclean animal, or any unclean detestable creature, and eats meat from the Lord's fellowship sacrifice, that person must be cut off from his people. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, you are not to eat any fat of an ox or sheep or a goat. The fat of any animal that dies naturally or is mauled by wild beasts may be used for any purpose, but you must not eat it. If anyone eats animal fat from a fire offering presented to the Lord, the person who eats it must be cut off from his people. Wherever you live, you must not eat the blood of any bird or animal. Whoever eats any blood, that person must be cut off from his people." The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, the one who presents a fellowship sacrifice to the Lord must bring an offering to the Lord from his sacrifice. His own hands will bring the fire offering to the Lord. He will bring the fat together and the breast. The breast is to be waved as a presentation offering before the Lord. The priest is to burn the fat on the altar, but the breast belongs to Aaron and his sons. You are to give the right thigh to the priest the contribution from the fellowship of sacrifice. The sons of Aaron who present the blood of the fellowship offering and the fat will have the right thigh as a portion. I have taken from the Israelites the breast of the presentation offering and the thigh of the contribution from their fellowship sacrifices, and have assigned them to Aaron the priest and his sons as permanent portion for the Israelites. This is the portion from the fire offering as to the Lord for Aaron and his sons, since the day they were presented to serve the Lord as priests. The Lord commanded this to be given to them by the Israelites on the day he anointed them. It is a permanent portion throughout their generations. This is the law for the burnt offerings, the grain offerings, the sin offerings, the restitution offerings, the ordination offering, and the fellowship sacrifice, which the Lord commanded Moses on Mount Sinai on the day he commanded the Israelites to present their offerings to the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai. This is very, very interesting. I think as I'm reading it, I think what comes out the most to me is that I'm sure you're aware that the priests, they did not have, like the Levites, they did not have any land given to them. They were just there to serve the people and to serve the temple, and in this case, the tabernacle. Also, when you divide up, good morning, Dr. Fraunfelter, how are you? So when you see for example, you had the 12 tribes all were divided into land, except the one tribe, the Levites, did not have any portion of the land. And so you see Aaron and his priests. So remember, Aaron comes from Levi. Levi comes from Aaron, if I think I'm right. Aaron comes from the Levi, right? The Levi tribe. And so his priests are the ones who, his people are the ones who do this, the sons of Aaron. That's what it says. And how do they get anything? Everyone else is living off the land, right? They had cattle, they had grain, they had farming. They lived off the land, and then their goods, what they had, were brought back to the temple to serve the priests and serve the sons of Aaron. Otherwise, the sons of Aaron and the Levites would all die. They'd literally starve. We don't really see this as much in kind of, it's kind of hard to explain. Let me go back and then I'll come back to our text, our context. So like my friends, I have Cambodian friends, and they have Buddhist monks. Well, they don't have any no tithe system or anything like that. The people bring them food every day, and if they don't bring food, oftentimes the priest will have nothing to eat. The Buddhist monk will have nothing to eat. So every morning, people come there and they bring food and they cook the food for the monks to eat. And it really reminds me of this. And I remember calling my friend once. He was a monk, and I'm like, "How are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, the people, it's so hard because there are days we don't have anything. No one brings us anything to eat, and we don't really cook because we're monks. And so we cook something, but it's not a lot because no one's brought us anything." And so this relationship between the people, the laity, and the priest, and the people are there to help and to kind of support the priest as the priest brings them the spiritual. They bring them spiritual service. And so that's what we're seeing in Leviticus here, is that the work of the people come, they bring these sacrifices to God, but also it serves for the priest, as the priest does spiritual work, right? And so I guess in present day, it's how the church is really still supported, right? It's not by investments or a lot of pastors aren't bivocational. Some are, right? Some are now bivocational, but a lot of times a pastor just does spiritual work, and how they live is by other people working outside in commercial enterprises that the pastor doesn't do or can't do or is not called to do. And so he or she can't make the same kind of economic viability because they're working in a spiritual work. That's their calling. So this chapter is really about what God has asked for these. This is a permanent remember, he said this is a permanent solution. It is a permanent portion throughout their generations. God had established this. These groups of people are called, they just do spiritual things. This group of people are use their economic resources, and the two of them together can make the kingdom of God happen. And that's kind of my take here. It's kind of an interesting, we see solution. It is a permanent portion throughout their generations. God had established this. These groups of people are called, they just do spiritual things. This group of people, I have no idea what just happened, but hit the wrong button. So anyway, chapter 7 is this idea that God has established a way for the priest to continue the work of God in their calling, and that's the way it's done. So I just want to encourage you, as God has blessed you, that you bless God's kingdom in any way you can, whether it's local church, local charity, a ministry. I know I'm looking at Dr. John and knowing what he does with SOS. Good morning, Aaron. Good morning, Jenny. And so you're out there, you're doing what God's called you to do, and then you're bringing it back into the kingdom, and that serves the kingdom, and it serves the people who've dedicated their lives to kingdom work. So I just want to encourage you that it is what I'm reading in chapter 7, just like, okay, it's part of my responsibility to forward the kingdom of God, and so that's the chapter 7. God bless you guys on this Sunday, also Palm Sunday. So kind of a neat day that Jesus comes down from the Mount of Olives into Jerusalem, into that eastern gate. And looking forward to Holy Week with you. And tomorrow we'll look at chapter 8 of Leviticus. God bless you, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye. Hi, Janet.